everyone, I hope you're very good. So today I come back with a new videos to my YouTube channel, Scope International. So today the subject is going to be about the incoterm. So I've been seeing the video regarding the reference, the different lists of incoterm artists using for maritime and then also the flow of fluvial. So you can also have the different informations and also the reference book that you can using for your planification for the supply chains. So let me give a reference the definitions of what is incoterm. So the incoterm is determined to who the seller or the buyers will be responsible for the packaging costs of the verifications of the good transport insurance of the import and export customer formality as well as the export duty and tax. So I repeat again the definitions. The incoterm determines to whom the seller or the buyer will be responsible for the packaging costs of verifications of the good transport insurance, of import, export, custom formality, as well as export duty and tax. So this definition demonstrates that the seller and buyer have the responsibility between different inbound and outbound process through the contract. So let me give you an example. I'm going to expand my teaching today, focus on this following book, the Export Transportations book that you can find out to epnet.fr. You can have an example from it. So I already made a video regarding these things, regarding this book. So you can have the reference regarding that if you would like to have more knowledge into the knowledge based on the incoterm. So let me start it. So as you can see, there is different type of incoterm. The incoterm for transport maritime and fluvial, and the incoterm for transport multimodal. So let me start it with the definitions of the X words incoterm. So I already have, you can have more knowledge by going to any information regarding each incoterm and find out more information. So let me start it with it. So starting with the FAS incoterm, free along ships. So this incoterm responsibility is actually started with we start with the phase of the incoterm that determine the repair costs. So it's focused following from the FES, free allowancership, which actually demonstrate the responsibility of the seller and then the responsibility that the buyer has, including with the obligations or not the obligation of processing insurance, following with the location where the shipment has been negotiate to the contract, which platform has been negotiated, and finally the terminal that has been planned to the contract. So let me give you a step of it. So the FAS is actually demonstrate that the seller is responsible from the picking to the handling at the terminal, at the group page, consolidations at the group page platform. So is responsible for the costs. Then the buyers is responsible from also middle of the handling in the time of loading, then responsible for the transport costs. No responsibility for them to pay any insurance costs for the seller and buyers. So the buyers is responsible for the manutention, so the handling and the consolidations and for any formality custom documents for exports, for imports, and pre-routing. So putting controller, so the putting controller which is linking to any warehousing, and then the loading at the arrived destination. So this is regarding the responsibility that the buyers actually has. Following with the incoterm free on board. The free on board it looks like the same as the free allowancership, especially because the seller has the responsibility of handling packaging and also the cost of handling at the terminal platform group pages. Then it's not responsible for the transportation cost. It's the buyer who's responsible for the transportation cost. both seller and buyer don't have any responsibility for the insurance. So there's not any insurance added to it. So then also the buyer is responsible for the cost of the consolidations at the platforms and the custom document formality at the airport, cost and tax. Then the pre-acheminement, so it's a routine acheminement. And then when you arrive to the platform, following with the unloading at the warehouse or the distribution or manufacture at the destinations that has been planned to the contract of transportations. So let's go for the CFR incoterm, which also is from the family of the incoterm of maritime and also a fluvial. So CFR, the seller is responsible from the packaging into to the cost of transportations. So it's including like the loading of at the warehousing, the routing at the platform of the consolidations, import, export, formality, customs, handling material at the terminals, and also the cost of transportations. Both of them doesn't have any responsibility regarding any payment in insurance. Then following the buyers is responsible from the groupage at the platform until they also have established the formality custom for the following, which is imports, and then the routing that's established at the warehouse when they have to the arrived destinations, and also to the unloading at the warehouse at the terminal that is the end where the good has to be delivering. Then following the incoterm SIF, cost insurance freight, the seller is responsible from the handling materials into the assurance of transportation. So he has on his hand the responsibility to pay the cost of insurance of transportations, which is added to him the following information, which is the picking, the handling is responsible for the handling costs, the groupage, the routing, platform at the consolidations, following the custom formality exports, including with the platform where the goods arrive to the terminal for the consolidations, and then add with the transport principal costs and add with the insurance of transportation. Then when we go to following with the buyers, the buyer responsibility, it doesn't have any insurance to pay, so it's actually the seller is responsible for that one. Then we add with the manipulations for the buyers at the consolidation platforms at the terminal, then the formality custom at the imports, tax and laws, and then routing at the warehousing, at the arrived destination at the warehousing or the distribution and manufacture, or unloading at the warehousing or distribution manufacturing at the arrive at the end of the custom, at the end of the port. So this is basically the incoterm for the maritimes and also fluvial. So this is mainly for repaid costs. The incoterm is really focused only for the repaid costs. Then let's carry on with another one. So it's actually also the same as the repair cost, focus on incoterm transport multimodals. Ex-words. The ex-words, the buyer is only responsible by putting the goods back to the warehouse or the manufacturer. After that, the buyer is responsible from the loading of the goods at the place of the buyers until the final destination, which is the unload of the goods at the final destination at the warehouse. So it has on its responsibility, the buyer has on its responsibility the following shipment routing, which is loading at the warehouse of the buyers, of the sellers, then the routing at the airport or port or any platform or consolidation terminals, custom formality exports, and the money handling airport, port, platform, consolidation terminals, cost of transport principles, and no insurance to pay. Both of them do have to pay any insurance of transportation. Following that, the handling at the airport, port, platform, the groupage and terminal, this is into the responsibility of the buyer. Then following with the formality, custom and imports, such as the cost, the tax, and the laws. Then we're calling about the routing at the warehouse, and then arrive to the warehouse entrepot and loading to the warehouse at the arrived destinations. This is into the end of the following buyer responsibility costs. Then we carry on with the following incoterm, which is carrier pay to CPT. So CPT, so you can have much more information regarding the incoterm. As I said that you must use in the following reference that give you the information regarding each incoterm. So the CPT is actually demonstrate that the buyers, the sellers, has a responsibility from the handling materials into the transportation costs. It doesn't have any responsibility regarding payment of insurance of transportation. This is for both of them. And then on this end, then the buyer's responsibility is really focused on the following. Both of them are responsible of the insurance in terms of handling and airport port platform consolidations at the terminals. So both of them has their responsibility, the same responsibility. And then the buyer's responsibility for the formality of customs, import, tax, and law, including with the routing at the warehousing or manufacture at the shipment that has been at the shipment location that has been negotiated to the contract, and then also the unload at the warehouse where the warehouse has at the arrived destinations too. This is the end and the responsibility of the buyer. So following with the AT, the incoterm DEAT, the ADAT demonstrate that the seller is responsible from the handling materials until the transportation cost. It doesn't have any responsibility to, of course, on insurance and freights as the buyer and sellers. Add with the terminal, the final terminal that has been established to the contract is also both of them as the responsibility of costs. So the buyers is responsibility for the formality of custom, import, tax, and law, following with the following of routing at the warehouse, manufacturing at the arrived destinations, and to the unload at the warehouse of the warehouse manufacture at the arrived destination. So now talking to the DAP, duty at place, so delivery at place. So the other one it was delivery at the terminal. So delivery at place incoterm is the following. So the seller is responsible from the handling until the transportation costs, and then in insurance, both of them doesn't have any obligations to pay any insurance. Add with the platform handling materials at the airport platform terminal consolidations, that both of them are responsible. Following with the buyers is responsible for the formality of airport customs and tax and law, following with the routing at the warehouse where manufactured at the arrived destinations. That is both have a responsibility of costs, and then the buyer is responsibility for unloading at the warehouse or manufacture at the destination. So this is the example that I've been given to this book. So I'm going to put a picture regarding that if you have any questions about it. And I'm also add with the following, which is the transfer of risk or incoterm. So there's importance to acknowledge the transfer of risk to the incoterm, because we can acknowledge the risk that the buyers and the seller are responsible. So following that, the free allowancerships incoterms demonstrates that the sellers are responsible from the handling materials, the loadings at the loading into the trucks, the wagons, and also anything regarding handlings at the terminals consolidations. It's responsible for the risk of customs export formality and also the cost of handling at the consolidations terminals. Following with the buyers is responsible of also of handling groupage airport consolidations at the airport. terminals, and also linked to the transport cost principle that is um, request is also at the responsibility of the buyers, and then also the handling consolidation at the platform, the formality of custom import tax law, and then the routing at the warehousing, at the manufacture, at the destinations that arrive the goods, and then the unloading where the shipment has been dispatched to the warehouse or the manufacturer at the arrived destination at the end of the customers. So following with the free on board, so incoterm, so the buyers, the seller is responsible from the packing, handling into to the manufacturing, handling, airport, platforms, consolidations at the terminals, and then the buyer is responsible from the transport principal cost into the unloading at the warehouse, shipment at the warehouse, receptions to the arrived destination. So this is carrier, freight, and ship. So the CFR, the seller is responsible, is the same as the freight on board. They have the same responsibility. And the SIF as well, the free on board, CFR, the SIF as the same responsibility, buyer and seller as the similarity of responsibility. Following with the incoterm transport multimodal. For those who don't know what is a transport multimodal, when an organization establishes its supply chains, routines, it may decide to use a different type of transportations for establish its supply chains. It can start from the sea, or it normally started from route, and then it can end with also it can end with the sea, and then it can end for air as well, and then air and for train, or end for road as well, truck. So this is the meaning of multimodal. Following with the incoterm transport multimodal for the transfer of risk, the following established that the sailors is responsible only to handle the material to its own warehousing. His responsibility stop as the good is on his warehouse or manufacture or distributions where the good is stored is just the responsibility of the sailor. The rest of the responsibility risk is into the end of the buyers, which is the loading of truck, wagon, and then warehousing container, following with the routing, airport, port, platform consolidation at the terminal, customs formality exports, handling airport, port, platform consolidations at the terminal, transportation cost, handling airport, port, platform consolidation at the terminals, formality customs and port tax and law, following with the routing at the warehouse into the warehouse, manufacture at the other destinations, and loading at the final destination as well. This is into the end of the seller responsibility. Then following with the FCA, this also demonstrates the seller responsibility start from the handling and also the loading to the wagons and containers at the warehousing, following with the pre-routing, airport, port, platform consolidations, and terminals responsibility. Both of them at the through the contract as established an agreement that both of them are the same they have the same responsibility basically. Following with the buyers, the seller is responsible for the handling airport, port, platform consolidation, terminal. Following with the buyers is responsible as well for the groupage, manutentions and terminal transportations, principal handling, and then custom, airport, and formality, including with the routing at the warehouse, and then at the arrived destination, and unloading at the warehouse at the arrived destination, so the unloading. Following with the CPT is demonstrate that the seller is responsible from the handling, and then the loading to the routings, and then the responsibility both of them through the contract covenant agreement. Both of them has the same responsibility. Following with the custom exports documents, following the risk for the buyer is started from the handling at the airport, platform consolidation, terminal until the unloading at the warehouse at the final destinations. Then we also add with the CPT, CRP are the same responsibility as the buyer and seller. They are similarity. Then DRP, delivery at place, it's the responsibility risk of the seller start from the handling until the transportation costs. Then at the terminal that has been established, the buyer is responsibility for the terminal risk as well. So regarding anything regarding handling, airports, ports, platform consolidation at the final destinations, add with the following formality of custom, airport tax law, and including routing at the warehousing, arriving and the unloading at the warehousing, arriving to the final destination. So the day delivery at place is also the same things at the day delivery at the at terminal, but the difference between those is like both of them has the responsibility to on the where the goods has been shipped and received to the terminal. It's according those costs are to the responsibility of both for handling airport, port, terminal consolidations to the terminal. And finally, another one is routing the warehousing where the platform arrives. So both of them have the same responsibility. And then at the end, the buyers is responsible for the unloading. So finally, we end with DDP goods. With DDP, incoterm is really all the responsibilities into the charge of the seller, starting from the handling until to the routing at the warehouse and entrepot at the arrival destination. Only the buyer is responsible for the unloading at the warehousing. So the seller is responsible from the handling, the loading to the weight to the trucks, routings, airport, port, platform consolidations, terminals, custom export formality, handling, airport, port, consolidation, terminals, transport principal costs, manutentions on the airport, port, platform consolidations, airport, port, formality, custom, import, tax, law, and finally routing at the warehouse at the manufacturer arrive. This is into the responsibility of the seller. So the buyer don't have much to do with the DDP. Normally the DDP are used for very expensive goods, very expensive, sophisticated technical goods that we using the DDP. So the DDP are a very, very, very strategic incoterm, especially when you use the tax days. The use of DDP, the advice that the most of the custom said is regarding that the DDP must precise the VAT excludes and also the TVA that must be paid by the buyers, and in order to make sure that everything else is paid. So this is the example of what is the incoterm. So this is how I demonstrated today the incoterm of repair cost, and I demonstrate the incoterm of transfer risk. So for any question regarding that, Scope International are willing to give you much more information regarding how Trade International impacting the supply chains. As we're gonna say that we're going through how supply chains and the responsibility of both parties can negotiate and make both of them have the profit to the run of the supply chains. As I say earlier, when the supply chain is well established, an organization can lead easily its supply chain and its business. So thank you very much for your listening this morning, and then for a new video, I will send a new video very soon. I must think about the subject. If anyone has any subject that they would like me to talk, I'm happy to do it. But anyways, I have so many subjects to talk about to these channels. It is the start, so I'm going to improving by the time that I'm going deeper and deeper. So this is very important to know the incoterm. When a business knows the incoterm, you know how to do the strategy for the supply chain. Thank you very much for your listening. Have a good day. Bye.